chances are you've already walked past one of the most advanced civilizations on our planet today. You just didn't pay it any mind, since it was located right under your feet. While you were going about your daily business, thousands of creatures were building roads, transporting cargo, patrolling borders, cultivating fields, tending to their livestock, and transmitting information at a speed that would seem utterly impossible for any single participant. But the most amazing part isn't even that. This civilization has no president, no monarch, no general, nor any leader whatsoever. No one is at the center giving orders. No one sees the big picture in its entirety. Each individual is aware of only a tiny fraction of the overall task. Yet, from millions of such fragments, a system somehow emerges that is capable of surviving wars, natural disasters, and forced migrations. Ants. Some of them form armies hundreds of thousands strong. Others construct underground structures, comparable in scale to a multi-story building. There are species that farm other insects, much like humans raise cows. And there are even those that have been cultivating their own agricultural crops for many millions of years. And the deeper researchers delve into this world, the more one strange feeling persistently arises. Perhaps we've grown accustomed to considering ourselves the only intelligent civilization, not because it's true, but because all other civilizations turned out to be too miniature for us to take them seriously. If you look at an ant individually, it's hard to believe that you're looking at one of the true masters of this planet. A tiny insect just a few millimeters long, possessing neither physical might nor impressive size. It's easy to crush with a single step and not even notice. But nature very rarely plays by our rules. It has no obligation to make the winners large, swift, or smart in the sense that we're used to. Sometimes, it's enough to simply learn how to work together better than anyone else. Ants appeared on Earth back in the age of the dinosaurs. While colossal lizards roamed the planet, the first members of the ant family were already mastering the ancient forests. They survived the extinction of the dinosaurs, a series of ice ages, and countless climate changes. Today, they can be found almost everywhere, from humid tropical jungles to scorched deserts, from mountain slopes to city parks. There are very few exceptions. Scientists have described over 14,000 species of ants, and new species are still being discovered to this day. Some are so tiny they can easily fit through the eye of a sewing needle, while others grow to be several inches long and look downright intimidating. That said, an individual ant, to be perfectly honest, is a pretty limited creature. Its brain is smaller than a grain of sand. It doesn't make long-term plans, and it has no concept of how the entire anthill is structured. It just does its own small part of the job. The real hero of this story isn't the individual ant at all. The real hero is the colony, a huge living organism made up of thousands or even millions of small bodies. When you look at an anthill from the right perspective, an unexpected thought can't help but pop into your head. Maybe an individual ant means about the same thing to the colony as a single cell means to the human body. A liver cell has no idea what the heart is doing, and a heart cell is clueless about what the eyes are seeing. Yet together, they make up a single person. Something very similar happens in an anthill. Some individuals are responsible for finding food, others take care of the young, and a third group guards the entrances. There are builders, scouts, carriers, and even a kind of specialist for cleaning up the area. Everyone is busy with their own task, without waiting for any orders from above. When you first grasp this principle, a new question immediately comes up. If nobody is running the colony, then who makes the calls in tough spots? Picture a huge city with no mayor, no government, not even a single dispatch center. Any human system under those conditions would fall apart real quick. Ants have been living exactly like this for millions of years. When a scout finds a food source, it does not radio the coordinates to the others or assemble a team. Instead, it leaves a chemical trail on the ground. To a person, this path is completely invisible, but for ants, it becomes a real information highway. If the find turns out to be a good one, new workers start moving along this route. Each one leaves its own trail on top of the last one. The path gradually gets stronger, and the stream of ants gets thicker and thicker. From the outside, it might look like someone is deliberately directing the movement of the whole column. However, there is no plan behind it. Each participant is simply reacting to the scent right next to it, without knowing the overall route or how many other ants are moving in the column. But it is from these tiny, almost mechanical reactions that a behavior emerges. One that looks like the result of a conscious collective decision. In 1989, 4 Belgian biologists set up a simple experiment. They connected an Argentine ant nest to a food source with 2 bridges, one of which was twice as long as the other. Ants are nearly blind. They don't memorize maps, and they don't consult with anyone. Nevertheless, within just a few minutes, the entire colony was focused on the shorter path 100% of the time. The ones that happened to turn onto the shorter branch got back faster and had time to leave a new layer of pheromones sooner. The imbalance built up all by itself, without a single command from the top. This is how a natural selection of the most successful solutions happens right in the middle of the process. When several paths lead to the same goal, it's not the most intense signal or the most important ant that wins, but the route that actually proves to be the most efficient. And this happens constantly, every day and every minute. This is precisely what allows colonies to quickly adapt to changes in their environment. If a familiar path becomes unavailable, traffic gradually gets rerouted along another path. If a food source runs dry, interest in it fades away on its own. The system continuously adjusts to what's happening around it. When scientists began to study this mechanism in detail, they discovered that it closely resembles the operating principles of some modern networks. The decision here isn't formed at a single central point, but comes together in many places at once, as the result of a huge number of small interactions. The ability to find optimal routes is just a small part of what ants are capable of. Just how massive the structures built by creatures that individually know almost nothing about how their own society works can be only becomes truly clear when you watch them build. People often picture anthills as small mounds of dirt and pine needles, and you do see ones like that. However, some colonies build structures that make a typical forest anthill look like just the entrance to a much more complex and sprawling world. Beneath the surface, there can be an extensive network of tunnels, passages, storage areas, and chambers for all sorts of purposes. Some rooms are set aside for raising the young, others are used for storing supplies, and in some, special conditions are maintained that are needed only for specific tasks. If you were to slice open such an anthill and look at a cross-section, the site would resemble not an animal's burrow, but a well-thought-out engineering project, as if someone had drawn up a blueprint beforehand and arranged the rooms by level. Ventilation shafts go straight up, and the chambers for larvae are at just the right depth where a stable temperature is maintained. There was never an architect here, yet the structure functions as if there had been. Colonies that have existed for decades are especially noteworthy. Over this time, thousands of generations of worker ants come and go, while the structure itself continues to grow and become more complex. The builders die and new ones take their place, but the construction never stops for a single day. How does each new ant know exactly what it needs to do? When no one hands it any plans, gives it a briefing, or explains how the whole system works? The answer turned out to be both simple and surprising. Most of their behavior is hardwired right into the species' biology. An ant isn't born a blank slate. It already carries a set of rules that has been honed by millions of years of natural selection. This isn't a manual for action. It's the very essence of the creature. But innate programming alone isn't enough. Ants constantly exchange information with each other through touch, sense, and chemical signals. To us, a system like this seems primitive, but for them, it allows them to coordinate the actions of a huge number of individuals. Sometimes you get the feeling that the colony is thinking. Of course, it doesn't have a single brain. Yet the results of its actions sometimes look as if some collective mind is behind them. This is precisely why a number of biologists suggest viewing an ant colony as a single organism, rather than a collection of individual insects. This perspective clarifies a lot. A single neuron in the brain doesn't understand what the whole brain is thinking either, and it has no idea what a thought or a decision is in general. But billions of these neurons together form a system capable of awareness, making decisions, and acting. A similar picture emerges with ants. This is especially clear in moments of danger. When a predator attacks the colony, or part of their home is destroyed, thousands of individuals begin to act almost simultaneously. Information spreads down the line. One ant reacts to the change in the situation, then a second, then a third. But the speed of transmission is so high that very soon the entire colony changes its behavior. A similar effect can be seen at a stadium when the wave goes around the stands. No single spectator is in charge of the process. Each person just copies their neighbor's movement. But together they create an effect that sweeps over tens of thousands of people in a matter of seconds. Ants have the same mechanism, only instead of hand movements, they use chemical signals, and the reaction speed is incomparably faster. Housekeeping and construction make up an important part of this world. But at some point, certain species of ants took a step that is usually considered a sign of an advanced civilization. They stopped just gathering resources around them and started to purposefully produce them on their own. And this happened long before the first cities, the first states, or even humans themselves came into being. Approximately 10 million years ago, certain species of ants took up an activity that closely resembles real agriculture. They didn't just look for ready-made food in nature, but instead created the conditions to grow it themselves, cared for it, and depended on the harvest in the exact same way that human societies would later come to depend on it. We're talking about the fungus gardens that leafcutter ants cultivate. If you watch their column from a distance, it's easy to assume that the insects are gathering leaves for their own food. In reality, most of these leaves are completely unsuitable for them as a food source. The worker ants meticulously slice the leaves into pieces and carry them deep underground. There, the plant matter is ground up, shredded, and turned into a nutrient base for cultivating a special kind of fungus. It is this fungus that becomes the main food source for the entire colony. The ants are basically running a huge underground farm, monitoring its condition, cleaning out any contaminated sections, and maintaining the conditions needed for the fungus to grow. If a dangerous mold gets on the fungus garden, the worker ants start fighting it almost like doctors during an outbreak. Some species even use special bacteria that help suppress the harmful microorganisms. When a young leafcutter queen leaves her home nest to start a new colony, she carries a tiny piece of the fungus garden with her, tucked away in a special pouch in her mouth. It is from this very fragment that the first garden will grow in the new location. The fungus and the ant have long been inseparable from each other. The fungus garden cannot reproduce with spores and is unable to exist without the ants. And the leafcutters themselves are doomed without their farm. A whole agricultural complex operates underground, which includes cultivating the crop, protecting the harvest, and constantly monitoring the condition of the plantings. And this complex came into being millions of years before the first human fields ever appeared. The moment you learn about this for the first time, you immediately start to use the word primitive more carefully. The usual images of simple insects begin to fall apart right before your eyes. Farming turned out to be far from their only type of economic activity. Some ants chose a completely different path and built relationships that are strikingly similar to livestock farming. Many people have probably noticed little aphids on plant stems. They are usually considered common pests, but for a number of ant species, aphids are an extremely valuable resource. Aphids secrete a sweet liquid rich in nutrients, and ants regularly gather it for food. But the relationship doesn't end there. Ants protect the aphids from numerous predators, patrol the plants, chase away dangerous insects, and guard their peculiar herds. Scientists have recorded cases where ants carried aphids to new plants if the old one was starting to die. From the outside, it looks almost unbelievable. One type of insect, transporting another to a more suitable place for their continued existence. Of course, you shouldn't draw a perfect analogy to human livestock farming. However, the similarity is so obvious that many people are genuinely surprised to learn about these kinds of relationships within the insect world. The more closely you look at the lives of ants, the more one thought stands out, that many solutions which seem like the pinnacle of human ingenuity, nature began testing long before man ever appeared on the scene. But there is another side to this world that shatters what is perhaps the last stereotype about ants as quiet and harmless creatures. That side is war, real, brutal, and sometimes so massive that compared to them, many conventional ideas about insect life start to look way too simplistic. Many people consider war a phenomenon unique to humans, states, armies, borders, and conquering territories. However, among ants, similar conflicts have existed for tens of millions of years, and their scale can sometimes be completely unexpected. When two large colonies are vying for the same territory or food source, the confrontation can last for weeks. Thousands of individuals advance toward each other, the opposing ranks draw closer, and a battle begins where each side tries to force the other off the contested land. For an individual ant, such a battle is a continuous series of one-on-one fights. Some hold an enemy down, some attack with their mandibles, and some use chemicals for defense or attack. The chaos on the line of contact has nothing in common with the order that can be seen from above. Nevertheless, the actions of thousands of participants somehow add up to coordinated behavior. Some sections of the front get reinforcements, others fall back, and the colony continuously reacts to what is happening, as if it possesses a single understanding of the situation. Among all known species, the army ants Eciton burchelli from the tropics of Central and South America deserve special attention. On the march, their column can number up to 200,000 individuals, and their front can be as wide as 200 meters. Everything alive in their path, insects, spiders, and small lizards rarely escapes. If you were to scale this up to the size of the ants themselves, a 200-meter front would be comparable to an army advancing along a front several hundred kilometers wide. And there is no headquarters behind any of it. Even more unusual forms of confrontation exist. Some types of ants conduct actual raids on neighboring colonies, and their objective is not always to destroy the enemy or seize foreign territory. Sometimes the victims of the raid are the larvae and pupae of another species. The invaders carry them to their own anthill, where the young individuals later emerge into the world, already inside a completely foreign colony. The most surprising thing is that such ants often begin to fully serve their new masters. They build structures, gather food, and handle normal colonial tasks, completely unaware of their true origins. When biologists first documented this behavior in detail, many drew a parallel to slavery. Of course, this is just an analogy, but the very fact that such a sophisticated strategy exists among insects sparked scientific debates and genuine bewilderment for a long time. Against this backdrop, a logical question arises. If ants can build entire cities, grow their own food, keep something like livestock, and wage actual wars, why are we still inclined to consider them creatures that act purely on instinct? For a long time, the answer seemed obvious, because ants don't possess reason in the human sense. They have no language, culture, or science, no conscious eye toward the future. And so it stood to reason that all this complexity had to boil down to pure instinct. At least, that was the prevailing thought until just recently. But then scientists began conducting experiments whose results forced a completely different look at ant colonies. Researchers were no longer interested in the individual ant with its set of instincts, but rather in the ability of the entire system as a whole to handle complex problems. It turned out that a group of ants is capable of finding solutions that are inaccessible to any single ant on its own. Moreover, the efficiency of these collective solutions sometimes proves to be so high that engineers, mathematicians, and computer systems specialists are starting to take a serious interest in them. And here, the narrative takes an unexpected turn, because what follows is not so much about ants as it is about ourselves, and about why humans are more and more persistently looking for ideas from creatures they're used to, not even noticing under their feet. In 1992, the Belgian mathematician Marco Dorigo defended his doctoral dissertation. His source of inspiration was that very same bridge experiment conducted by his colleagues 3 years earlier. Dorigo took the principle of pheromone trails and turned it into an optimization algorithm called ant colony optimization. He faced the same challenge that couriers and logistics experts face every day: how to quickly find the best route among thousands of possibilities. The algorithm solved it in exactly the same way. Ants choose a path to a food source, without checking every single option, but with an accuracy that many classic methods would envy. This approach proved to be so fruitful that today, ant algorithms are used far beyond logistics, in designing telecommunication networks, managing robot swarms, and optimizing delivery routes in real time. A tiny insect just a few millimeters long has become the model for some of the most advanced computational systems of our time. Imagine a group of people where each person only holds a small piece of the bigger picture. It seems like a system like that should work horribly. Yet sometimes it's the very fact that the information is scattered that makes it truly resilient. If one of the participants drops out, all the others keep moving forward. This is precisely why many large anthills can exist for a very long time. Over this span, countless generations of worker ants come and go. The ants that dug the first tunnels are long gone, but the colony itself continues to live and develop. At a certain point, a number of researchers began to ask a tough question. What makes a civilization anyway? Brain volume? The existence of technology? Or is it the ability of many members to act as a single organism, survive disasters, and continue to develop regardless of the fate of any specific individual? If you accept the last definition, ants pass this test more confidently than most other creatures on the planet. Of course, there is a vast gulf between the world of ants and human culture. Ants don't write books, create telescopes, or ask questions about their own nature. This is not at all the kind of civilization we are used to imagining. But just take a look at their social structure, and the picture gets a whole lot more interesting. Here are creatures that have mastered the division of labor, building complex settlements, collective decision-making, and the long-term existence of large communities, and all of this without the ability to grasp the big picture, without a single coordinating center, without language as we understand it. Perhaps the most important thing about all this isn't any one particular fact, but how your own perception changes as you study them. Almost every new discovery has forced us to reconsider, again and again, what the word simple means when it comes to ants. We're used to judging the world around us through the lens of our own ideas about scale, where big things seem significant and small things seem insignificant. But nature couldn't care less about judgments like that. It only cares about the final result. And that result is right in front of our eyes. Creatures just a few millimeters in size have managed to colonize almost the entire globe, outlive the dinosaurs, survive ice ages, and endure countless changes in their environment. And they didn't need big brains, complex technologies, or a single leader able to see the whole picture to do it. The next time you happen to glance at an ant trail, maybe at the base of a tree or in a crack in the pavement, it's worth taking a moment to pause. It's possible that what you're seeing isn't just a line of insects all hurrying about their business. Before you is one of the most ancient and thriving civilizations on Earth. It came into being long before humans appeared and continues to exist alongside us to this very day. It is quite likely that it will outlive many human civilizations, just as it has already outlived the dinosaurs, ice ages, and countless climate changes.